On his last visit, Hatta had even dared, in Kotak's name, to inspect the Egyptians, to see them practicing their swordsmanship and their physical readiness. Hatta asked Takani to stage some mock fights with sword and knife. Hatta watched as both the Egyptians and Ariama's men went through their drills, or charged back and forth, waving their swords and shouting their war cries. Takani's dour face had flushed a darker shade than normal at the insult, but he said nothing. The more than 50 Egyptians in the camp trained nearly every day, practicing with sword, axe and knife, and they impressed Ariamus with their skill. He'd never seen better fighters, certainly not in that number of men. He had no doubt that in a pitched battle they would defeat an enemy 2 or 3 times their number. But Kothak also knew he couldn't hold Akkad without horsemen, and that's where Ariamus intended to impress his new master. With a little luck, Ariamus would soon be second in command. Already he had the larger number of fighters reporting to him. That would naturally elevate him above the Egyptian sub-commanders, even Takani, because Kothak, once Akkad was taken, would need Ariamus more than he needed his own forces. Besides, plenty of Egyptians were going to die taking the city, which would strengthen Ariamus' position. With a little more luck, Kothak might get killed himself. That would put Ariamus in command, since without Kothak, even hard-headed foreigners like Takani and Nebibi would realize they needed someone from this land if they intended to rule here. If all went as Kothak planned, then Ariamus would have plenty of time to think about getting rid of Koth. The Egyptian had taught Ariamus how to play the game, but the pupil intended to rise above the master, even if it took a year or two. The first step was to court the Egyptian sub-commanders. Takani was hopeless, but Heda and Nebibi would see reason soon enough. Heda was the lowliest of the 3 who served Kothak as sub-commanders, but the one chosen for all the more difficult tasks, or whenever Kothak needed someone with more bits than brawn. The Egyptian obviously wanted men about him that he could trust, but none too sharp in the head, lest they get ideas of their own. As captain of the guard in Akkad, Ariamus had done the same himself, making sure his sub-commanders followed orders without asking too many questions, let alone doing any thinking. In some ways, Askar had been the perfect sub-commander. A friendless loner, he kept his mouth shut and obeyed orders, spending as much time as he could away from the village, caring for the horses and chasing after runaway slaves and petty thieves. Once again, Ariamus wondered how such an insignificant barbarian outcast had ever managed to seize control of Akkad.